now, you can lock in 30 days of any NBA or college basketball plays, including 5% best bets released from your favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for just $6.63 per day. A 30-day NBA pass is priced at $189 and a 30-day college basketball pass at $189. But you can get both for only $199. To take advantage of this special offer, just go to WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Choose your favorite handicapper and lock in all basketball action for the next 30 days. Even better, there's no limit to how many handicappers this offer can be redeemed on.
All right, away we go here, folks. It is now a Friday, January the 8th, 2021, and we got some college basketball to talk about. Welcome in, College Basketball Tip-Off Show powered by WagerTalk.com. I'm Joe Raineri, and let's put it up. Let's look at the games here that we're going to be diving into over the next 28 and a half minutes. Purdue, Michigan State, Ohio U taking on Toledo. Good game, Dayton, Davidson. Maybe the wrong team favored there. We're going to find out. Louisiana Tech taking on Western Kentucky. We've got, of course, our friends at the Gold Sheet. They've got a thought or two on the Oakland, Wisconsin, Green Bay game, and we've got a loaded panel for you today. If I've said it once, I've said it pretty much every damn show. Best looking crew you will see here, guys. Welcome in Steve Merrill, Dave Koken, Ralph Michaels, all of WagerTalk.com, and plenty of opportunities to make it a profitable weekend, guys. We're going to get into that, but let's welcome in Steve. I mean, good God, Steve, it's like, feels like 12 minutes since I last saw you. Go ahead and talk to me about, first and foremost, welcome in. Thank you very much for stopping by on the Hoop Show here, but talk to us about last night's games. Did you have anything, and what do you got heading into the weekend?
Yeah, I had one play yesterday. I've been pretty selective this season, but it's worked well. And that one play was Colorado, so now 20-6 with another winner, now 20-6 on the college basketball season. Actually, I have one NBA best bet. NBA's been doing quite well as well. For Friday night, I'm going to get my top college recommendation free here on the show at the end of this episode. So that is a reason to stay tuned, to say the least.
Yeah, as is that code underneath his name. We're going to get into that here in just a minute. Mr. Koken, welcome in, my friend. Again, happy Friday. How was last night, and what do you got heading into the weekend?
Missed the smaller play, the free play, and Colorado State didn't get there. Actually, the game went in many ways like I thought it would. UNLV kind of gassed at the end of the first and second halves in that game, but the Rams didn't cover. But the best bet was a very easy winner, as Stanford had no trouble at all with Washington. That was pretty much no sweat, wire to wire. That's the way we like them. Have two plays up tonight in college basketball. One of them is a free play that I'll also talk about here on the show. The other one's a best bet. And I've posted two NFL plays for Saturday, including a best bet.
There you go, guys. Plenty of reasons to be able to get over to WagerTalk.com, including my neighbor underneath here, Mr. Ralph Michaels. Ralph, last night you and I were kind of licking our wounds there. Me on Hofstra, you on the first half of winning the full game. But what do you got going in as we head into this weekend?
I have a 3-pack of college basketball plays for tonight. I put them all in one package, and it's been an uneven week for me. Listen, we'll tell you when it's good. We'll tell you when it's been bad. Just like this entire week, I've lost 4 games by a point or a half point, and I've used 2 halftime plays, which failed to cover the first half but won the complete game, including UCLA tonight. That was one of my plays I had for my clients. And Joe, as you commented off the show, you turn on the TV and you see Arizona State's Remy Martin's not playing, and you get a big smile on your face. You have a 20-8 lead, and you think, oh, everything's going great. And then ASU comes back and bites you in the ass for the rest of the first half.
Gotta love college basketball. It's so much fun. Let's take a look at the Twitter handles here, guys. If you are new to the show, every one of these gentlemen, quality in their own right. Twitter follow Steve Merrill at Steve Merrill. That'll be 2 R's and 1 L. Is that correct? Or no, I'm sorry. 1 R, 2 L, 2 L's. I don't know. What is it, Merrill?
Don't mess with me, Joe Raineri. You know better.
It's at Cal Sports LV for Ralph, and I hope you guys are taking notes. That's at Dave Koken for Dave Koken. Keeping it simple here for you guys. Let's take a look at some of those games from last night, some of the top performers here. Interesting, too, here, Ralph. We talked about this game yesterday here on the show. We broke it down with Oregon and Colorado. And Chris Duarte making the list there for the top performers. Hell of a game, but unfortunately, that streak continues for Oregon. Can't get it done in Colorado, Ralph.
Well, it's a situation like we talked about, making one of those road trips when you've spent most of your time at home. We're going to be talking about another one of those teams with La Tech. So nice performance. Tyler Thomas for Sacred Heart, big game, 36 points. If you see, though, 44 minutes, you do note that was an overtime. So and in a loss, so a tough loss for him.
All right, take a look at some of those covers last night, some of the biggest covers that we had an opportunity to be a part of. And the one at the top, I think, is just amazing. That Illinois Northwestern game, Dave, was woo, that second half for Illinois was, wow. They came out, didn't even look like the same team, and neither did Northwestern for that point.
53-13 in the second half.
Oh.
53-13. That's
wow.
The funny thing is, I was scanning the Twitter feed as I often do, and seeing all these comments about Illinois is completely overrated, blah 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 blah, because they were losing by a pretty good margin at the half. Those tweets didn't age well.
That's why you always wait, guys, until the game is on. You got to see zeros across the board.
Well, there is an exception. And you can't do this on every game. But if you are trying to pull the
reverse jinx,
reverse jinx mode, that's okay. You and you can't do that.
Great.
You just can't do that every night, or it won't work. But pull one out if it's a big play for you, and it's not going well. That's the time to use it. I did it in the Auburn-Tennessee football game.
Okay,
and it worked sensationally because I won a game that I never should have won.
Give us your expertise advice. Is it once a week, twice a month, once a month?
Ooh.
How often can you go to the reverse
It's not
jinx?
a calendar thing. I think you have to wait for a really important selection that needs some help.
Yes.
And that's when you pull out the reverse jinx card.
Right. And there are, I'm sure, Steve Merrill, a few Illinois fans that did just that last night and said, all right, let's go. We're going to light a little sage and get this going in the second half. And they certainly did. But the other game, too, that was on there, USC, congratulations, taking care of business finally on the road in Arizona. It had been a while since they won there. Good for them. And, Steve, Iowa, Maryland just heading the wrong way. Too much size, too much Garza, and Iowa continues, as does SMU and Cincinnati, which was an interesting game as well there last night.
Yeah, just a couple things. First of all, I call it kiss of death. I call it the reverse kiss of death. I've done that over the years. I used to have a notebook where I kept my results like 20 years ago, and I would occasionally put an L next to the game when it wasn't looking good and hoping that I have to get the whiteout. So that's hilarious that Dave does the same thing. And we've all been in this industry so long, we know the tricks, I guess. But I call it the reverse kiss of death, the reverse jinx. I'll tell you what you don't want to do is back teams like Maryland. We talked about this earlier when I was on with Michigan State. They got it done against Rutgers earlier this week when I made my last appearance here. But yeah, buyer beware with Maryland. Something's just not right. You don't want to try to catch that falling knife. And quickly, I follow the CAA very closely. My alma mater, William & Mary's in the CAA. A tough, bad beat if you had the under in that Hofstra Northeastern game last night.
Yeah.
It was a 136 at the end of regulation and then went over because of overtime. The total was around 138. So that was a bad beat, to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, talk about that game for a second, because that's the type of game. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to win 100% of the time, but that's the type of game where I know I'll be looking at Hofstra tomorrow. They're up 17 at the half in that game, blew it, and lost in overtime. And the rematch is tomorrow. And we'll see what they do with the number, and I want to get updated information. But Hofstra's definitely got a check mark. That's the type of spot I like to look for, especially in this season where teams are playing the same opponent back-to-back on so many occasions in some of these smaller conferences. I think there's going to be opportunities to cash that type of zigzag on a fairly regular basis.
Awesome point, Dave. Great point, in fact. And some of those overs and totals yesterday that we had, that's twice now Merrimack has made the list here, Ralph. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what your fascination with Merrimack is, but it is there. Stanford, Washington, as Dave had spoke about. Wisconsin, Indiana there, Ralph. That was a game we talked about here on the show. And that game, see ya, over. That one went way over at 25 points.
Well, that was because of overtimes. That was double OT.
Yes, true.
In that game. So, they scored, I'm looking right now, 16. They scored 31 points in overtime. So
Crazy.
That does change. That would have made the game go under the total. So that is certainly a bad beat. One more point I want to bring up on the biggest upsets, guys. On yesterday's show, I talked about how if you read John Brannon's quotes, you believed Cincinnati was going to win that game. He completely believes he tweaked things. He talked about how good the practices were. Those are the coaches you want to remember. Yes, this is now multiple times. You've told me something that is true and it's come to fruition, either good or bad. So if you're reading the Cincinnati paper and you see those quotes, you can pretty much take them to heart.
Nuggets of information coming out here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. All right, guys, we got 4 games coming your way. We want to break down. The first one is going to be Purdue versus Michigan State. We'll dive into that game. Before we do, though, I do want to remind you guys right now, WagerTalk.com. Take advantage because it's going away very shortly. Right now, 30 days, all access, all basketball. College basketball, NBA, any one of these gentlemen, Dave, Ralph, Steve Merrill. Although there is a catch with Steve, we'll get to that. $199, 30 days, all access. Every time they post a selection, college basketball or NBA, boom, it is coming your way, $199. And Steve, I just wanted to mention quickly also, you've got a special code here. You have been crushing it to start. I believe #1 at Wager Talk right now in college hoops. You got a special offer for the viewers right now.
Yeah, we wanted to do something special, Joe, because you and Teddy had to put up with me all week guest hosting for the Prez. But good news is you will have him back on Monday, so you have that to look forward to over the next couple of days on the weekend. And to thank you all the viewers that watched. So we took an additional $50 off, so $149 for a full 30 days of college hoops, and we're throwing the NBA in as well. So college and pro, $149. Got to use that code SM50 for the $50 discount. WagerTalk.com.
Perfect. Let's dive in. Purdue, Michigan State. That's correct. And we're going to head over to you, Dave. We'll start there. The slumping Purdue Boilermakers right now, taking on a Michigan State team that, if you talk to Michigan State fans, you think they've righted the ship here. They are a 4.5-point favorite. Total hovering or opening right around that 143 mark. I don't know. Are you a believer in Michigan State now? Are they just that much better than Purdue? How do you have them?
No, not off one game. Michigan State was playing some lousy basketball, and that, they lost 3 in a row, and then they beat Nebraska in what I would consider, at best, an okay performance. I didn't think it was particularly good in that game. Now, they did put it together against Rutgers in most categories. They shot the ball well. They absolutely killed Rutgers on the glass in that game. I don't have the rebounding margin in front of me, but I watched the game, and they just absolutely crushed them on the glass. They still had a lot of turnovers in that game. So I still think point guard it's just going to continue to be an on-again, off-again problem for Michigan State. And that's going to make them difficult to back, particularly as a favorite. So Purdue's not playing particularly well. They've lost 3 out of 4. I think those, you can say they were relative superior teams. Iowa's obviously really good. Illinois is obviously really good. And Rutgers on the right night is really good. And they beat Maryland in between. I think Michigan State wins it, but I would not be comfortable laying the points until I see a little more consistency and until I see better play out of that point guard spot for the Spartans. I just think that's going to be an ongoing issue for them the rest of the season.
Yeah, Ralph, Boilermakers haven't won a true road game. Yeah, I still have that Miami game in the back of my head that I want to cry at, but I don't know. Where do you have Purdue right now? I mean, can you even trust them or think about it in this spot?
Well, my power ratings still lean with Purdue in this game. So, let's take a look at Purdue's losses. You lose at Iowa and you lose to Illinois. So what? You're losing to a top 10 team on the road. Those aren't horrible losses. As Dave said, losing to Rutgers that one night at Rutgers, when the rack can be a very difficult place to play. So the question is, do you think Michigan State is right? And I believe exactly what Dave said. No, not after one game. Dave, I did have those numbers. Rebounding edge in the last game, 45-25. Turnovers last game, Michigan State had 18 turnovers. That is not good for a game that you're leading that big at home in that situation. So, I do lean with Purdue here. Purdue has, the best big guy, Trevion Williams, who is an incredible passer. It gives them a great inside-outside game. Yes, they got to make the threes to be able to withstand this game. And while Michigan's defense was excellent against Rutgers, they held Rutgers to 29%. That's the lowest Rutgers has ever been held. So you hold the team to 29%. Does that make it all okay? Well, again, not in the long run. Their three-point defense, Michigan, right now is ranked number 237. You have a three-point shooting Purdue guard team with these guards having to go out and cover them and do a lot more work. I do lean with the dog here.
Steve, 2 R's, 1 L, Merrill, my friend. Michigan State at home, a little more confident, a little more reliable. I'm watching this number go up as we're doing this right now. I'm seeing 6s out there. How do you have them tonight?
Yeah, the line looks a little hefty, like Ralph said, but the money has been coming in on Michigan State, as you said, Joe, and I think there's some sharp money in there. Not sure I'm going to give up line value, though, until I see another solid performance. I talked about this a few minutes ago, with Maryland, and we talked about it a few days ago with that Michigan State-Rutgers game here on the show, and Michigan State did show up. But, coming into that, they had failed to cover 7 straight. Guess what? Guess who's only covered once their last 9 games? That's Purdue. They've had even a worse point spread streak right now. So these are 2 teams that have been hard to trust. They've been 2 of the biggest money burger, not in the Big Ten, but in the entire country this year in college basketball. A couple of things jump out to me, though. Power rating-wise, as Ralph said, I do have this game shorter. Statistically speaking, efficiencies, these teams are pretty close. And then pace rating, Michigan State plays pretty fast this year. Purdue plays very slow. And I do like to look at slow down underdogs. Just don't know if they can dictate that tempo on the road because, as you mentioned, Joe, they have not played well away from home this season.
All right, Big Ten matchup. From the Big Ten, we're going to head over to the MAC here, guys. Take a look at Ohio and Toledo. Interesting matchup here. Toledo, the class of the MAC right now, 4-0, 6-game winning streak overall. Ohio had a 3-game losing streak. They've turned things around. They've won their last 2. Ralph, let me start with you. Very familiar with this part of the country here. 147 as a total as an open. Who do you have more faith in here?
6:30 p.m. on CBS Sports. So for those watching and want to get a little MAC action and watch Marion Jackson for Toledo, he certainly is a star. Toledo was a team that had a rare down year last year. Their coach, Todd Kowalczyk, thought they were as good as anyone in the league. And boy, they've proved it so far. They're a team with multiple guys that can score. They're a team that comes out and has beaten good teams on the road. They did trail Kent State by 9 points in their last game, and they needed a monster comeback. That's the only thing keeping me from on them in this game. My power ratings actually have them a point higher, but the question here is Ohio's best player and one of the best players in the MAC, Jason Preston, missed the games. He's listed as questionable. And unfortunately, when you get these teams like Ohio, the Athens Messenger isn't updating injuries when they write stories about the team. The Ohio team isn't updating injuries. So, if you like Ohio in this game, keep an eye on if Preston becomes available or not. That's somewhere where you're going to find value. I actually have the other way. I do like Toledo. Especially without Preston. If I find out Toledo, if Preston's not playing, that makes this game much stronger for me. OU, a team really struggling on the free throw line. OU's road game at Ball State, they did get a win, but that was against the bad Ball State team. So, like Toledo, no Marion, like him even more.
Toledo there, Steve, on a 7-game home winning streak right now. Tough to back Ohio on the road without their best player. How are you approaching this game?
Yeah, I also thought this line was too short by a few baskets, actually, based on my power ratings. And the market just hasn't caught up to Toledo. Not only have they won, 6 in a row and 8 out of 9, I think, but they've covered now 5 straight games against the spread. And I still think this point spread is too short. But it does concern me with the uncertainty of who's playing and who's not. Teddy and I talked about this today on Wager Talk today. A lot of times NBA teams, when a star is out, they pick up their effort and the other team lets down a little. So I don't know if that might apply here if Ohio isn't at full strength. The other thing that jumps out to me is that Toledo takes a lot of threes. I do think that favors them at home. We've talked about no crowd this year. I do talk about the altitude edge with home courts, but I think teams that rely heavily on the 3 are going to probably play better at home in unfamiliar arenas. So I do like Toledo here, and I think there's a little bit of line value.
Yeah, it's Toledo. You saw it in the last game with Ohio. They nearly blew it there, Dave. But how much confidence do you have in a team on the road like this?
Not much. And again, I mean, I'm just echoing what the other guys said, but I don't know who's playing.
Right.
And the MAC is just, it's one thing for football, you can get information, but basketball, it's a tough league to get information on. And so I pretty much crossed off the game. The only thing I can say is this: if it's close late, Toledo is going to have a pretty good chance to pull away, despite the fact that Ohio can shoot threes. The free throw disparity is pretty big here. Toledo is an excellent foul shooting team, one of the best in the country, 77%. Ohio's not so good. That is one of those things where if this is a game where the spread's in play in the last minute, going to have to favor Toledo to get a few extra points and maybe sneak out a point spread win. I think it's a pretty good game, though.
All right, good stuff here, guys. Let's move on to Dayton, Davidson, if we can, here tonight. And interesting to see. Could be one of those, is it a bounce-back situation for Dayton coming off of that loss to Fordham? They've lost 2 of their last 3 games, but they have won their last 3 against Davidson. So, Steve, let me start with you here. The number opens up at 4.5. 129 we're looking at as an opening total. How do you have Dayton here? Bounce back situation after that Fordham loss?
Yeah, I'll actually look a little bit more at that total, Joe. These are 2 of the slowest tempo teams in the entire country. I mean, we're talking about 300 and some teams. They're both in that 340, 350 range. Yet the total has gone up a point. As you said, it opened 129.5. It's up to the 130, 30.5 range. I get that that's a low total. In modern college basketball, it's not a lot of points. But the only way I would play this one, I'm not playing this game tonight, but the only way I would play it is the under. Is I think it's going to be a snail's pace, and it really just comes down to if these teams hit their threes or not. And Davidson's had a pretty strong 3-point defense this season.
Not a lot of love there, Dave, in the marketplace. I'm seeing this number creep up. I'm seeing 7s out there right now for Davidson. How do you have them?
I think I agree with that movement. And I don't like laying points in games that are of this nature where it figures to be slow pace. So I don't think I'm going to get involved. But I'm a little interested in the Davidson side. And part of that, well, all of it really, is the fact that I'm starting to believe that Dayton just might not be any good. Obviously, losing Toppin was enormous. And they've had some uneven performances so far. The SMU loss isn't bad, but it was at home. They do have a nice win against Mississippi State and Ole Miss, for that matter. But they blow a big lead against LaSalle, and then lose to Fordham, which is a pretty bad basketball team. And I'll grant you it was on the road, but they're just not getting. And it's funny, if you look at the offensive efficiency numbers, they're not that bad. But if you've watched them play, or at least followed their box scores, it's a bad offense. I think Davidson just does more things right than Dayton. Neither one of these teams is NCAA caliber this season. It's really a shame that Dayton, that the tournament got canceled last year, because that was the best Dayton team in generations, and this one's not nearly as good. I'll go with Davidson here for at least, we'll call it a medium call.
Ralph, I got to tell you, man, I found a number here. I want to throw it by you. Dayton is turning it over almost 25% of their possessions here. That's just crazy when you think about it.
Well, for those that watch, I've talked about this Dayton team multiple times. I've played against them. They are only 8 deep. That's it. They have no bench. They lost 2 guys who left the team, one in late October, one in December. And why did they lose to Fordham? Well, they didn't have their point guard. Rodney Chapman missed the last 2 games. He's out again tonight. That puts Jalen Crutcher at the point. That gives them no more scoring again. If you like the under, that's certainly a reason, because Jalen Crutcher has to play point, and it takes away from his shooting abilities. I had Davidson as a play, excuse me, last night when I started capping the card. I saw 5 and 5.5s. But when I saw 7, I got into that same thought that Dave and I believe Steve said. When you got 2 teams that are tempoed like this and the game is going to be in the 60, do I want to lay 11% of the line to a team like Dayton, who does have winning capacity. But again, with their short bench, if they get into any foul trouble, they are dead. Here is absolutely the number one live betting situation for Dayton. If any of their team has 2 or 3 fouls in that first half, you play against them in the second half because they have nobody to fill in, Joe. So an absolute always live betting situation with Dayton. Point guard still out tonight. I have to go Davidson. Again, didn't make my card because of the bump in the line, and looking again at where the pace is going to be, and the winner most likely in the mid to low 60s.
Great advice. Good live betting situation there. Also, some good advice, guys. Heading over to WagerTalk.com right now and take advantage of the offer. It is the New Year's, and I love this, the New Year's resolution. Be resolute to make more money and be more profitable this year, and you can do so by getting a 30-day all-access pass to any one of these gentlemen right now. Every college basketball and NBA play, they select, they post, it's all yours for $199. You can do so at WagerTalk.com, but don't forget Steve Merrill right now. Number one, as a thank you, use the code SM50. You'll get his 30 days worth of plays for just $149. All right, let's take a look at this Louisiana Tech Western Kentucky matchup here, guys. And Ralph, I'll start with you. A little Conference USA here. Western Kentucky opens up as a 6-point favorite, total 142.5. How do you have these two teams? And I see it's creeping up towards Western Kentucky. I'm seeing 7.5 right now. How do you have these two teams power rated, Ralph?
I have Western Kentucky 9. So I'm interested to see where Steve has it. They are off an overtime loss against Charlotte. I do lean with them here. This Western Kentucky teams had some awesome teams of late. They were good enough to go into Alabama in a game we talked about here. Losing to West Virginia by 6, nothing to be bad about. But it was the Charlotte game that, was very disappointing. It was the defense that let them down. I mean, Western Kentucky shot 57% from 2s, shot 33% from 3s, but they allowed 54% from Charlotte. So that's an outlier game. That's a game to me where, okay, Charlotte lit it up from 3-point range at home. That's going to happen some nights. You throw that out. But the biggest reason I'm really going to fade La Tech is, they have played 2 road games this year. They've played at LSU and they've played at ULM, which isn't even a road game. That's like saying you're scrimmaging your little brother and you're just going to beat them. This is the first time they're leaving the state. I think that's a big deal. This is the real travel situation. They're off that home loss to Marshall. The Western Kentucky's got 2 of the best players in the conference, and you have those two go-to guys in Hollingsworth and Bassey. You're coming off a loss where your defense underperformed. La Tech making that rare road trip. I do like Western Kentucky here.
Western Kentucky. Dave, how do you, the Hilltoppers here, how do you have them as the number continues to creep up tonight?
Well, that's the problem for me is that I think Western Kentucky's a real nice team, but they're not a blowout. They're not a margin team. They've had a lot of close wins. 4-point win over Charlotte. It's a good win, but still 2 against Alabama, 3 against Rhode Island. They probably should not have won that game. 2 against Gardner-Webb, 6 against Memphis, 6 against Northern Iowa. Granted, that was Northern Iowa with A.J. Green, and they were a better team then. I'm just not comfortable laying the points with them. What I do want to look at here, I'm kind of rooting for Louisiana Tech to give them a real good game tonight because I think that Western Kentucky's got a depth edge, and they're going to rematch on Saturday, and I think that could be a plus for Western Kentucky. I'll put it this way. I don't want Western Kentucky to win big tonight because that would eliminate them as a play tomorrow. But if Western Kentucky wins close or loses tonight, then I think the Hilltoppers warrant a long look tomorrow because I think they've got the more depth and the more physical team, and I think that could really be to their benefit in the second of back-to-backs. Now, the interesting thing in saying that is last week they had a back-to-back against Charlotte, and they lost the back end. But I don't think that there's anything particularly to draw from that. Louisiana Tech also split last week, and they won the first game against Marshall, which surprised me a bit, and then lost the second game. And I'm going to stick with that opinion that on the second of these two games, I think Western Kentucky is going to have a better edge than they had tonight.
So, Steve, it's interesting. It opened up 145. I'm starting to see 143s now popping up, so coming down a little bit. But we're looking at a Western Kentucky team, if this is close, 13th in the country from the charity stripe. I believe Louisiana Tech, 280th. So that always makes me a little weary, especially when the road team is 280th. How do you have?
Yeah, Western shoots 79%. Louisiana Tech shoots 65%. So a huge difference, Joe, from the free throw line. And keep in mind, there's really no key numbers in basketball like there is in football, but there's some thought that 7 gets close to it because after you get up by more than 7, that's basically 2+ baskets. You don't foul as much. And guess what? This line opened 6. It's now 7.5. So it's been teetering around that maybe quote unquote unkey number of 7 in basketball. So I think the free throw shooting could be a big difference down the stretch. Ralph, by the way, I use several different sets of power ratings, like 5 or 6. They all kind of hovered around anywhere from 6 to 7 in this game. So it's basically where the line has been all day. So I don't have much of an opinion for that reason, but Dave brings up a great reason about the rematch here this weekend. And I do think that's why Western didn't play well in the second game against Charlotte. They beat them in the first one, came out, had a terrible effort earlier this week, gave up 50% shooting with 21 turnovers in that loss. That was an 8-2 team. Now they're 8-3. I like to play good teams off a bad performance, and Western does qualify in that role tonight. Line's a little high. Ralph actually thought it was a little low, though, so there could be value there. And keep in mind, they're just 1-8 against the spread their last 9. Meanwhile, La Tech is 4-1 against the number. So you could make an argument that there's going to start being some value with Western because they're not covering the spread the last few weeks.
Yeah, I just want to add to that thought that Western Kentucky was so impressive early against some decent teams. I think they might have gotten overrated, and now the numbers may be starting to get down to where it should be. So I would look for some spread improvement from the Hilltoppers.
Good stuff there, guys. Great information. And we, before we get to some of our best bets here, as we go around the horn, we do have to say thank you once again to our good friends over at the Gold Sheet, providing us a play of the day. And today they're looking at Oakland taking on Wisconsin, Green Bay here, Ralph. And it appears that this looks like a swap here. Wisconsin opens up at home as a 1.5-point favorite. I'm seeing a lot of Oakland now. Oakland money coming in. They are -1.5. Doesn't seem to matter to Gold Sheet. They're going with Oakland here in this one.
Well, Oakland started the season 0-9, and they beat Detroit a couple times. I think Dave and I both faded them against Wright State in that first game last Friday. And then, what the hell? They beat Wright State in that second game, which shocked the heck out of me. So they've won 3 out of 4. The Gold Sheet play of the day is on Oakland. I already have that posted on my Twitter. So check out the new Gold Sheet format for the season, and you can read that entire write-up.
Good stuff. They're 5-11-1 against the number in their last 17 at home, that being the Phoenix there. Yuck. All right, guys, let's take a look here for best bet time. And I do want to remind you, of course, make sure you're heading over to WagerTalk.com. Big weekend ahead. Great opportunity for you guys to hop on with Dave Kochen, with Ralph Michaels, with Steve Merrill. That's 2 R's and 1 L. Plenty of opportunities to make it a profitable weekend, if not a profitable great first quarter here in 2021. So, Dave, let me start with you. Let's talk about that game you got circled here tonight.
Okay. By the way, I'll mention it's not available yet, but we're gonna. My 68th birthday is next Wednesday, and we're gonna have a $68 special running at WagerTalk. So check my Twitter feed to see when that's. It's not an attractive game, but I'm gonna look at the Nebraska-Omaha North Dakota State game. Omaha is the type of team I really don't like because they play a very fast pace and they can't shoot. It seems to be a self-defeating mode of play. If you're just launching shots and you can't shoot, it's going to play into the strength of the opposition. And they're playing some lousy basketball right now. North Dakota State started the season 0-5, but that was all against better competition: Nevada, Nebraska, Creighton, Kansas, South Dakota State. They've won 4 out of 5 since, with only a loss to TCU, and they didn't play badly in that game. 2-0 in the conference. And here it is, January 8th, 2021. This is already the 11th. Now, I know nobody's going to be there, so it's not like a true homecoming, but it's still in their own digs. Look, North Dakota State's just the better basketball team. I think they got a comfortable win here, and I was willing to lay the 8 points. That's the free play I posted today, and it is a 3% selection for me. So we'll go with the Bison minus the points as the show best bet.
Also, it's not official, Dave, but on your birthday there Wednesday, Dave, Ralph and I have been working on our own little duet we're going to give you here on the show, so you're definitely going to want to make sure you tune in.
Hold on,
wow.
Joe. Wow. I am not on Wednesdays anymore. I let mid-major Matt take my spot. So now, Dave, you're very fortunate. I'm not on Wednesdays, so you don't have to hear me sing. Thank God. I'll tell you what, guys.
I'm not the one who's fortunate. It's the audience.
You guys may think Dave sings like a warthog, but Jesus Christ, he sang "Happy Birthday" to Joe Raineri. It's like a freaking ramen. You're expecting this hoarse grouse voice to come out, and he sings like an old Italian guy at a piano. He sings incredible. So I'm going to make sure I tune in next Wednesday to see how you and mid-major Matt serenade Dave. Happy birthday, Dave, next Wednesday in advance.
It was raining at the club with Dave singing. I'm telling you that right now. All right, Steve, let me go to you, my friend. Talk to us. Best bet here in college hoops tonight.
Yeah, how do I follow that? My goodness, I'll definitely be tuning in Wednesday. I'll have the volume down button ready to at disposal if needed, the mute button on the computer, but that'll be good stuff on Wednesday. And happy early birthday. I always do belated birthdays. I'm not sure what the term would be for happy early birthday, Dave, but it's good to hear. Once again, SM50 is that promo code to get a full month college and pro hoops for free. I've got an NBA best bet tonight. No college best bet, but I'm going to give you the first game I was looking at, or the top game I was leaning towards, and that's Air Force, Big Dog Air Force. A couple things I like here. First of all, it's a quick rematch, as Dave has referenced. I like looking at these teams that lose the first game. They play again. Boise was a 19-point favorite on Wednesday. They won by exactly 19. Now they're only an 18-point favorite. But, I think there'll be a little bit of a letdown by Boise. Air Force plays a very slow tempo, of course. They rely heavily on the three. It's their second game now in this arena, so I think they'll shoot better from three. And as I said, Boise won by 19, but look at the box score. They shot 46% from three. Air Force hit 24%. Boise was 16 physically, and they still only won by 19. So I think there's some value with Air Force plus the 18 in a rematch tonight for several reasons.
Good stuff there, guys. And Ralph, where are you turning to tonight here on this Friday night?
Well, as I said, we talked about Davidson. They were on my card as of last night, minus 5.5. The lines creeped up to 7, but still worthy of a best bet for sure. So I am going with the Wildcats.
Going with the Wildcats here. All right, and I'm going to throw it out here, Ralph. I can't wait to see your look here, but I'm going Cleveland State tonight. All right? If they are ever going to pull this off against Northern Kentucky, it's going to be at home tonight. Northern Kentucky, not great on the road here, and they happen to be playing absolutely amazing right now in the Horizon League. 6-0, I believe, as they're cruising along Cleveland State, Ralph. So I'm back in your team here tonight, your hometown team, Cleveland State, in that one. And here's a recap, guys, of the board one more time. Ralph Michaels going Davidson, laying 7. Merrill, that's 2 R's and 1 L. If you're just joining us, that would be Air Force taking almost 3 touchdowns. Hogan going North Dakota State, laying 8. I'm going to go Cleveland State, laying 2 at this point. And our friends at the Gold Sheet, laying the 1.5, going with Oakland. And again, guys, a reminder, WagerTalk.com, the opportunity, 30 days, all access, $199. Use that code